from the stage, and a young girl doing this to the... There were 4,000, which is $20, $30 in this tomb. It's not that there's something underground, but if they do drop bombs from North Korea, the service girls can run to take shelter there. We're going to cover 2.4 kilometers today, where we'll see very different environments, just like we've been seeing lately. This is a very touristy area where both Japanese and tourists visit. It's called Yanaka Ginza, and it's known for this little alley with beautiful streets full of small shops. Look, there's a bakery here, for example. Did you know that the bakery culture in Japan is quite interesting? Let's try some of the strangest breads we can find. Then, well, there are many that are pretty common, you know, like ones with a bit of chicken or some kind of sauce. All right, let's see. 3 pretty Japanese breads. This one is curry bread. Oh, I hope it's not too heavy. This kind of bread is usually a bomb. We open it, and it has all the curry sauce inside, dripping and fried on top. Delicious. And with this heat.
Oh, that's so good!
No, but it's really good. The curry sauce isn't the typical kind. Feels more like curry with tomato. A little bit of meat.
Is it spicy?
It isn't spicy. Let's see the second one. This is the first time in my life I'm trying it. But it's supposed to be fried bread with fish eggs. Mentaiko, which isn't one of my favorites, but oh well. Very hard. The flavor is really good. I'm not really a fan of these little eggs. Now it's really interesting because it's a bread where the filling is. I mean, physically it's like it doesn't have any filling. It's like they only put sauce in it, nothing else, but it's good. And this bread, I love it. This is sweet anpan. I mean, it has anko, the sweet bean paste, beans, kidney beans, white beans, however you call them. It would be butter, though not pure butter. This combo is also explosive. Super drippy. It's just loaded with calories. Really tasty, but you get all messy. The classic plastic samples. These are all sweets basically made with rice. That's rice made into a dough, combined with, there are savory ones, there are sweet ones. Up ahead, the ambulance crew is taking a girl away because she probably got what they call netsujo here, which is, what would that be? Heat stroke.
Yeah, a heat stroke.
She had a heat stroke. Summer here is tough, very humid, and the heat is intense. Ah, look, gachapan shops. No, let's not stop to look at that. Since it's so hot, luckily, here in this country, since it's acceptable for men to use umbrellas, I carry one because the sun is so intense. Don't you realize the difference between carrying an umbrella and not carrying one? All right, guys, from now on, the videos will be with an umbrella. Damn it, it's a heat you can't even imagine. It's just that the sun is really strong. There's a lot of humidity, a lot of heat, and honestly, with an umbrella, at least it's like walking in the shade, at least. But, well, it looks really bad on video. So I'm gonna sacrifice a little and leave the umbrella. But for sure, when the camera stops, I'll take the umbrella out again. Just a few meters away is Yanaka Cemetery, one of Tokyo's largest cemeteries. This cemetery is a municipal cemetery, but around this area, because of a fire that happened more than 100 years ago, many Buddhist temples moved to this area. And in those Buddhist temples, there are many small cemeteries. Well, I say they are Buddhist temples because Buddhism is the religion that's based on what comes after this life. Cemeteries related to death are always managed by temples of this religion. In the case of Japan, cemeteries are family cemeteries. For example, there it says Tanaka Kei, which means the Tanaka family. In this grave, it's not that there's something underground, but rather there's a space where a kind of hole is open. I've never seen how cemeteries are opened, but that's where the entire family's ashes are kept, which traditionally is always the cemetery of a father. And from there, the wife and the firstborn and his wife, the firstborn and his wife, and so on. Usually, when someone isn't the firstborn, like Being the second son, he could have his own cemetery. Now, if he never married or had a family, sometimes he can be incorporated into the same cemetery, and the same goes for women. But if they get married, they are supposed to enter their husband's cemetery. Here, for example, we have the versions that are maybe a bit more affordable for placing the ashes. I'm not completely sure about this, but I'm almost certain that if you go through the proper procedures, this can be opened and you can place that person's ashes inside. It's not a big grave, it's a collective one. By the way, those boards over there, a lot of people ask, what are those boards? Yeah. These are called sotoba, which are like commemorative boards, when it's the anniversary of someone's death, or during Obon season, which is the time to commemorate the dead. And they have words in Japanese, sometimes in Sanskrit, and the family places them to commemorate the deceased. And well, this is a cemetery that survived World War II. Therefore, there are many very old cemeteries preserved in this area. Afterward, the nearby small temples are already more, since they are not municipal, but rather more private, and obviously it's a bit more expensive. Sometimes it's said that only people who already have connections with the temple itself can enter. There's a bit of everything. But it's easy to see which are new tomb and which are old. Over there you can see several that are, you can tell they're very old, made of much rougher stones. But this cemetery is really big, and it's nothing like the atmosphere we just had or the one we're about to have now. Just a few meters away is the area around Uguisudani station, known for its love hotels or motels. That's what this neighborhood where Uguisudani station is located is known for. It's an area with hotels where couples go, but for the most part, I would say most of them Asa service girls, like delivery type. I mean, you can see that this gentleman just went in alone. Therefore, he's going to have a meeting inside their hotel in one of these beautiful rooms with a girl who will knock on his door. He paid for the service by phone. The thing is, in this area, there are so many hotels that it's very common for many girls to work here, because in this area, the agency's office is located nearby, from which they make a phone call and say, well, at this hotel, at this address. And well, then when you have the room, please call again, because then you have to say what the room number is so the girl can go, right? There are also some hotels that are quite luxurious. This one even offers free cosplay rentals, like those costumes, which obviously can be used by both couples and anyone who has paid for a service. The thing is, it's really funny, because a friend of mine, well, years ago, I interviewed her because she had worked in this. And she told me that sometimes she would come to this area very often. One day, late at night or early morning, I can't recall which, she was going to the station, and just as she arrived, a friend of hers was leaving the station, and she was young and pretty. They greeted each other like, hi, how are you? All good. Yeah, okay, bye. And of course, it was very, very obvious, because both of them started greeting each other a little bit nervous, and therefore, both of them realized that they were working in this area. Let's see, we're at the Don Quixote of the neighborhood, which is... Don Quixote always has its section of dirty stuff. Let's see. Well, it's much smaller than I would have expected. Honestly, there's not much here. Let's see. Here, they have toys for adults. Sometimes they have new underwear here. Not used. No, honestly, it's usually a scam. These things...
What are these manga things?
These are dildos for men.
Oh!
It was good to go into the store for a bit since it's so hot. Let's look for nicer things. Look, these things now. Now we're back to the family topic. But well, the reality is that most of the people who come here and work in these things usually come more prepared. Therefore, it's not necessary to make emergency purchases at Don Quixote. Now here, there's a very, very small store that I can see from outside, and it looks like, it seems they sell medicine for erectile dysfunction and lingerie. Here there's a gachapon machine with little panties. I like it, because here it's just like that. It says lingerie, gacha. Gacha, of course, you already know what it is. There's no surprise. Who would buy these, right? They're not even used. But oh well. But the truth is that there are a lot of girls here walking alone. The person behind me likely used the umbrella because she's a worker. Honestly, it wasn't intentional. I don't like bothering people, but you see a lot of pretty girls walking around and wandering in the area. And honestly, that's really curious. In fact, there's a girl walking ahead who's covering her face as she walks. I mean, you can really sense the type of environment. Now, another thing is that in this neighborhood, about 10 years ago, I went to an event called Department H. It was in this area. It was a monthly festival where everything related to fetishes took place. Lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, very inclusive of everything. That one I had uploaded a video about it on the old channel, but it got striked because there were some things that were a little bit too strong on the stage. When the stage wasn't being used anymore, but one of the organizers was sitting on the stage and a young girl was doing this to one of the organizers. Like, are you curious to try it? No, yeah. Put your hand, and she did. And we were just like, wow. Honestly, it was a very interesting event. Here we have the train tracks, and on the other side, it's again a completely different environment. And on this side, we have the Ameoko market, which is super popular and tourist. As if that wasn't enough, obviously, there's a small park with playground equipment for kids in front of the Love Hotel. The least crowded park for kids I've ever seen in my life. But anyway, there are homeless people and a smoking area in the park. These main roads divide the Uguisudani neighborhood. And from here you can see many hotel signs across the tracks. There's a totally different environment. From here we have the National Museum, and yes, on the other side of the tracks we have this huge park. The park, well, one of the most important parks in Tokyo. Here we have the National Museum, the Museum of Natural Sciences, the Art Museum. There's the zoo and several temples. I mean, this place is a historic park. In fact, it was officially the first park in all of Japan. Oh, and as a curiosity, the National Museum has a missile shelter. So if North Korea ever drops bombs, the services girls can run there to take shelter. And the naughty guys too. Look, right here, there's a map. This would be the Uguisudani area, and this would be the park side, which is huge. Well, some of you may have seen the movie The Last Samurai with Tom Cruise. Well, Ken Watanabe's character, Katsumoto, in the movie, well, that character is inspired by this person, Saigo Takamori, who was considered the last samurai. Why was he considered the last samurai? Because, well, at the time of the abolition of the shogunate, when the samurai were ceasing to exist, Japan was modernizing, adopting a constitution and transferring power to the emperor. Since he was a very good diplomat, managed to get many feudal lords with castles to hand over their castles without resorting to force. His role in the modernization of Japan was very important. But the fact is that also, since he saw that the emperor was being heavily manipulated by the political class, the oligarchs of that time. And since the samurai roots were disappearing, and he was originally a samurai, he decided to join the rebellion. In other words, to be a samurai again, to fight as one. And he died precisely from battle wounds in Kumamoto, which was his hometown way down in the south of Japan. He was seen as a hero for supporting both sides and dying as a samurai, which is why he's called the last samurai. And what's more, this park was originally an area where samurai settled, and here was what was called the Battle of Ueno, where the imperial army fought against the samurai who defended this place. And this is a tomb that was placed in honor of the samurai who fell in battle. It's a very historic park. And well, the samurai, they all had the option to join the army. What happened is that, of course, at that time, communication was complicated, right? It's like saying, hello, we come in the name of the emperor. You have to surrender the castle and join the army. Who are you? We're going to kill you. And then, well, hello, we come again in the name of the emperor. We forgive you for what happened last time. Kill him, kill him. And so, yeah, some of them did. That's why, right at the beginning of the movie, Tom Cruise asks a captain, someone like that from the army. He tells him that Well, they had to fight against the samurai, the rebels. He actually asked one of those guys, he knows the samurai, and says he's a samurai. Actually, he would be an ex-samurai. He left the samurai life and joined the army. No. The thing is, being a samurai isn't a title you can just give up. His origins were samurai. But look, the Tom Cruise movie is a fictional film, but the historical context is very good. Yeah, the movie is a few years old. If someone hasn't seen it, I highly recommend it because it's really good in the period the movie is set in. Here, very close to the park, is the lake filled with lotus flowers. And on this side, one of the oldest adult movie theaters in Tokyo. I only remember the one in Ikebukuro and this one, which is also pretty funny because look, you can take a picture here with the poster of the movie that's being filmed. Also, it has nothing to do with it. It's not that your head look like it's on someone else's body. You're just there with the interactive poster. Very good. The place has 2 movie theaters, one downstairs and one upstairs. The one upstairs, it's very common for transvestites to go there, like these men that are there. And well, one time I tried to find out, well, what happens in that theater, or rather that cinema. But well, let's see. I didn't pay much attention to it. I know downstairs is for straight people, and the cheaper upstairs cinema is for transvestites. Look, there are several transvestite men there, and they also hang out a lot with the homeless, because there are a lot of homeless people in this area. And that's something that's been going on since ancient times, basically, because during the 1923 earthquake, this park already existed as a park. And during that earthquake, when there were many fires and disasters and everything, a lot of people came to take refuge in the park. Next to it is Ueno Station, which has a giant hall. And the same thing happened during World War II. Since it was a green area, they didn't drop many bombs during the bombings. And therefore, people took shelter in the park and slept in the hall of Ueno Station, one of Tokyo's largest central stations. And also from here, they used to come to recruit many workers for Sanya. Do you remember the video about the homeless area? There were many jobs that paid daily. It was 1 day of work, 1 day of pay. Well, they used to come to recruit a lot of people at this station at Ueno. And if you cross the park, over there in the back is Ueno Station. On this side is the famous Ameoko Market. This is an area full of tourists with lots of local markets, clothing stores, places to eat, and everything. And crossing the street on this side, just crossing the avenue, here there seem to be no more tourists since nothing is very eye-catching. There are no English signs, and many more typical restaurants like izakayas and taverns, which over there isn't really that different from what's on that side either. But on this side, it's full of girls' bars, which is bars where women serve you. At night, this place gets really crowded, and I'm sure as we walk, we'll see some signs here and there. Well, here we have a strip club. This is a girls' bar. I mean, a bar where simply the girls keep you company. Well, not by sitting next to you, but they're around at the bar. Or you sit at the bar, order your drinks, and the girls talk to you and they're pretty. That's all. But it's very complicated because there are a lot of scams there. Look over there. For example, the girls probably work at one of these bars. They're waiting to see if they can catch a customer. The thing is, you never know if it's going to be a scam or not, because usually they're the typical ones that show up, you know, with a sign in hand that says 2,000 yen for all you can drink and things like that. The fact is that sometimes it can happen that they tell you, well, do you want to stay for an hour? Well, it's, let's say, $50 and you can drink all you want, and maybe you just go and only drink alcohol. But then it's time to ask for the bill. See those girls with the sign? They're examples of people looking for clients, right? You say, well, $50 an hour, okay? And then when you ask for the bill, it turns out to be $400. And that's something very common because, of course, it wasn't written on the menu that they charged $350 just for the seat.
And that's something that happens. And it's not a tourist trap. It's a trap that many Japanese people fall into, a lot of them.
That's why it's a bit of a dangerous environment. You can get ripped off very easily. And here in the Amayoko market, this is what makes me feel sad. I mean, the market is really nice. The place is great. There's a lot of food. Everything feels very authentic. But I feel a little sad about what you see there in red. They're turtles. And I know they're used for certain things. For some soups that are made with sake. And well, here on the next block, for example, there's the insect vending machine, which I've already tried. Oh, look. Since it's summer season, there you see the square watermelon, which, for example, isn't really used for eating. It's mostly ornamental. First of all, it's very expensive, about $200, I think. The thing is, the system to make it square is patented, and there's only one farm that's allowed to make square watermelons. And the fact is that a lot of them come out defective. They're sold at high prices, mainly for decoration, and fruit shops use them as seasonal decor. It's like buying pricey flowers, except it's a square watermelon instead. And honestly, eating it doesn't make sense since it has no flavor. Like Ueno watermelon, for example, when you reach the watery, flavorless white part at the end, it makes the whole watermelon taste that way. That's why it's not worth buying it and saying, oh, I bought a square watermelon, how nice. Let's enjoy it with the family. No, very bad idea. It's mainly decorative. Ah, look, here it is, the insect vending machine. Well, let's see, I've already tried this, and honestly, they're all really bad. I've already tried the tarantula, the cockroach, and the little worms. The little worms were probably the most tolerable. Honestly, everything is very expensive and bad overall. And now we're in a sex shop where we have the little vending machine for used panties. These cost $4,000, which is $20, $30. I mean, these have to be real. Look, here we even have photos of girls. This might be fake, very staged, but they're supposed to be used. This one has photos of stains, but the thing is, it looks repeated. I don't know how real it is, but there's these fetishes here. No, honestly. I mean, I've seen stores where they really show the dirty side. You can tell it's used, but here it can be deceiving. Maybe it's not, but well, for the curious one who wants to try, it might be here. There are a lot of things here. With this heat, we earned a beer. Cheers to you, your family, your pet, and your jerk neighbor. Kanpai. Ah, and you have to listen to the podcast, our podcast, Sinmiro podcast.